You don't have to be a genius in school to get where you want in life. It's all about clarity and honesty, towards oneself first. And so in this video, I will reveal to you how I transitioned from being an average C student to a senior solutions architect working for AWS, Amazon Web Services, and beyond. A journey to look back and honestly feel proud. To actually share with you this journey, I have subdivided it into 6 parts, which I will share with you guys and girls as we proceed. And to start us off, let me know what's your general take on school. Because from what I've learned, school only gets you so far. I wasn't the A type of student my parents want me to be, or my professors hoped I would be. And that's simply because at university, I only did just enough to get by. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not against the school and formal education. And you can kindly create some time and listen to these podcasts with my friend and Google engineer Abdel Fattah, where we dive deep about this subject. Frankly, it is more or less impossible to build a tailored program that speaks to everyone's individual assets and struggles. I believe formal education was created for the average students, counting on their ability to memorize at heart, withstanding long tenure of academic sessions, persevere the stress and anxiety brought by exams and the grading systems, and many other reasons you people might have experienced in one part of the world or the other. Personally, from my early days of my school life, I believed in the web and its power to reshape our lives. And true to my belief, the world today is a one-stop shop, thanks to the influence of the internet. I mean, you can order your groceries to be delivered right at your doorstep. Book yourself a flight ticket to enjoy a summer holiday in the Caribbean. If we can travel again, that is. Get medical care services at your doorstep, pay for your children's tuition on the school's website, order your favorite meal, and literally do everything without necessarily having to visit those places in person. But you see, that wasn't always the case over 15 years ago. When I was still at school, around that time, it was all about Java. They taught us data structures using Java, OOP using Java, multi-threading, interrupt requests algorithm, complexity, all those. Trust me, Java. But now the problem is I just didn't like Java. Not because it's bad or anything, it's just my sense of choice or priority, if you ask me. I don't mean to offend anyone who believes that Java is the best ecosystem in the world ever. It's just that for me, Java wasn't and hasn't always been my cup of tea. I always thought it was too verbose, too slow, too complicated, just too much for me, personally. And for such reasons, it just never really seduced me or got me excited. Or maybe I just had bad teachers. Who knows? But it's just sort of like that someone else's favorite dish that you as a person know you'll never let it slip past your throat simply because it's of how it looks, or even how it smells, or that car that that you will never buy, rich or poor, despite it having an engine and can safely take you from point A to point B, but still you'd rather opt for a public bus rather than being seen in one of those Fiat Multipla. All right, so I know, it's a highly opinionated matter, but all in all, I believed in the power of the internet as a global technology that belonged to everyone, and throughout my years at university, that was my calling. And just like a wise man once said, confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. I took my leap of faith, followed my calling, and chose to be different. Now, if you ask a group of people if they found their life's calling, you're sure to get mixed responses. Finding a life's path that feels fulfilling, it feels purposeful and tailor-made for your skills and interests is easier said than done. And in my experience, true calling shines less like a guiding beacon and more like subtle flickering lights. You have to slow down and really pay attention to find them. See, we all have this thing that drives us from within, right? A good number of people call it passion. My therapist calls it being overly active, but what does she know, right? But indulge me and take someone who easily gets obsessed with things and can never just relax. They always want to know anything and everything. They might be, annoying to hang out with, a super curious lot, and we ask them to stop being too nosy about other people's affairs. But If they join police service, they might make brilliant detectives. They may save hundreds of lives, or they can join the media industry and make impeccable journalists who are willing to leave no rocks unturned in pursuit of the truth. Now here's another example. Take someone who talks like they've swallowed an MP3 machine or something. They have an opinion on everything, or they're willing to laugh about all matters, even sad ones. We probably call them insensitive or out of touch, but you never know. Maybe you're hanging around the next Kevin Hart or Chris Rock. I'd say I was lucky to stumble upon my curse earlier. It took me a while to put words on it, but it's what you might call overthinking. Have you ever felt indecisive about an important decision that you want to make? You begin to look for all the available research surrounding your choice so you can make the best possible decision. But as you think about your opinions, you realize that having more information has created a need for even more information. So the cycle repeats itself. This is referred to as overthinking. Overthinking has its downsides, like delaying the decision-making process at work, creating uncertainty around anything you may be working on. For me, overthinking has definitely brought some challenges into my personal life, but as a software engineer, it allows me to design solutions that anticipate risks appropriately. Right? Work with teams to build roadmaps, research, and try to find the right tools for the right job while including many parameters like cost optimization, efficiency, fault tolerance. Think of a plan A, plan B, up to plan Z. As I've said in this video, building something that works is easy, right? Building something that scales is harder, but building something that can be maintained for 10 years, 20, that's the hardest of it all. So you see how a curse like overthinking applied to the right job can become an asset. Now, had I chosen to be a surgeon, and my knowledge about what it takes to be a surgeon is very little, but I imagine it involves making life or death decisions on the spot with sometimes no more information than what you have in front of you in the operation room. So had I chosen to be a surgeon, I don't think you would have wanted me as your surgeon. I would have wanted to review the building blueprints, make sure the main and the backup generators are properly working, that an ambulance and a helicopter is on standby should something go really wrong. Yeah, it would have been a mess. See, growing up, people around me, movies, songs, teachers, everyone was telling me to do what I love. I kept hearing, do what you love and you won't have to work one day in your life. But what I came to understand, and my advice to you if you're still watching this video, is to instead do what you're good at. Do what comes to you naturally. If writing is what you're great at, then why not pursue it? If solving problems is what comes to you naturally, go for it. If you're naturally gifted at swimming that everyone else struggles just to keep up with your pace, then that should probably be your job. And here's why. Choosing what you're good at as a career, not what you love, what you're good at, will give you an edge over everyone else in that job. Some athletes are freakishly naturally gifted. They do work hard, right? But everyone else has to work twice as hard just to hope to get close to their level. And this gives them the advantage of spending fewer hours training and probably more money as well. So my belief is that one should choose what they're gifted in, what they're good at, or what comes to them naturally as a career. That will give you more time and at the end of the day, and hopefully more money to pursue what you love on the side as a hobby. I'm not saying do whatever it takes for money, even if it makes you miserable. What I'm saying is we all have a set of skills that is unique to us. Be mindful of it and take advantage of it. Some would call it an unfair advantage. It is an advantage nonetheless. Now, I'm aware many people will be against this, and it's fine. It is but my personal opinion, take it or leave it. I've been lucky to use what comes to me naturally, overthinking as a tool for problem solving and strategic planning in IT. So maybe, what's your own curse? You might be surprised by what you find. Maybe you want to share it with us in the comments? Please go ahead. And if you're still watching the video at this point, please give it a like. It tells us that you like this type of content and it helps the channel grow in the meantime. Thank you. Now the third point, and I can't stress this enough, side projects are priceless. See, in the business world, everything involves risks. The higher the risks, the higher the stakes, the less likely you as the creative person will have a say in what goes, especially when all the other options begins to weigh in. With the personal side projects, there's only you. The purest creative endeavor you will ever do will be the one that you do for yourself, by yourself. Yes, I was not particularly eager to do homework at school, but I loved and enjoyed building stuff, and I always did. I actually paid my way through university building blogs and websites as a freelancer. So having a side project definitely enhances your chances of expanding your network. You get to interact with people, like in my case, from different parts of the world with different ideas, with different views of life. It added so much value to me, some that propelled me to who I am today. And having interacted with many people through my side projects, I learned how to solve various problems in different ways depending on what solution is needed at what time. Finally, I also learned to try out other things, like I said, blogging, creating websites, video editing, and during this time, I had the luxury and the privilege of experimenting with different technologies, thus developing me as a person. And now to my fourth point, which may be a bit controversial, but I believe that persistence is overrated. There's a prevalent and long perpetuated myth about innovators that they are persistent. Innovators don't give up. Renowned innovators like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison have even said of themselves, crediting their success in part on their persistence. But it's at best a poor choice of words, and at worst, a fundamental misunderstanding of what innovation entails. Personally, I think it is sometimes best to take a step back and question your motives. Like, are you really willing to try for the 5th time to get into that school program? Or is it really worth trying to get into that company after they rejected you for the 4th time? See, the issue with persistent is that it makes you believe that there is only one thing that will make you happy. And you know what? Take it from me, it's entirely possible to be persistently wrong. So at best, persistence is over-romanticized. The movies will always idolize the person who doesn't take a no for an answer, the person who goes on and on stubbornly despite the resistance they are facing until they triumph and slay the dragon or kiss the girl at the end or whatever, the mythical happy ending thing. History also wants you to believe that innovators never gave up, right? We've all read about how Edison and his team tried hundreds, reportedly also maybe thousands of materials before finding the one that worked as the filament in his electric light bulb. The moral of the story is that he succeeded because of his persistence, right? No, wrong, sorry, but that's a misleading takeaway. Think of it this way. If Edison used one material that he favored and spent all his time trying to make it work, that would have been persistence. Not very smart on his side, but still, persistence. What actually happened is they achieved success because they were willing to experiment with multiple materials. They were mentally ready to fail over and over and over until they get to the solution they were seeking. The key principle of his success was not persistence, but rather systematic experimentation. Sometimes, or should I put it, most of the time, it's just our ego that doesn't want people to think that we are quitters. So we spend years pursuing things that don't even interest us in the first place. Personally, I made sure I wasn't going to be a fanboy of anything throughout my life. I have built web apps using PHP with Laravel framework. I have built mobile apps natively and with many JavaScript frameworks as I could. I have used Vue.js as much as I've used React.js. I've worked as a developer, as a QA analyst. I've led teams. I've managed projects. I've founded startups. I've learned the basic of electronics and found myself catching up on my C++ knowledge so I can design and build my own home automation solutions using Arduino or another platform. I have taught myself the basics of car mechanics so that I could be relevant once I realized everything I know is computer related and I'd be completely useless in case of a zombie attack. Too many movies, I guess. I remember my family, teasing me for when I mentioned I will be working on cars. Long and behold, I got an old 92 Miata and rebuilt its engine, changed its fuel pump, timing chain, thermostat, installed a catback exhaust, replaced its headlights, ditched the old springs for adjustable coilovers, installed the turbo compressor, and I learned a ton in the process. Earlier this year, I found myself digging into Python just so I could build a package for Home Assistant. Does this sound arrogant? Honestly, I don't intend to display arrogance, not a dot. And I'm not smarter than the next guy. I'm just trying to make the point that what I have is the willingness to try, to experiment, and the ability to fully focus on something for hours. And it's something that you could learn as well. I could have built everything. I could have jumped on React.js and said, that's my call for life, and built everything with React. He who has a hammer thinks that everything is a nail kind of thing. I could have labeled myself as a React developer and attempted to solve every problem using React's paradigms. I could have used Node.js for everything. I certainly could, but where's the fun in that, right? I could have stopped at Docker Swarm and used it for everything containers, but then I would have missed out on Kubernetes and the new possibilities it brings. And yes, maybe that's the shiny object syndrome. Just maybe I'm constantly chasing the newest, coolest, most epic, most hyped technology. But perhaps I just found a way to keep myself entertained by reinventing myself every now and then. Maybe what I'm saying is that's following the shiny object syndrome is my curse. And I found a way to use it for my job. Maybe what I'm saying here is that being flexible really pays off in the end. And now, I'm making YouTube videos, learning about filmmaking, learning about color grading, post-production, and opening myself to a whole new world. Odds are in 2 years, I'll be doing a deep dive in, cybersecurity or machine learning or another domain I myself still know nothing about yet. As they say, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Pick your side wisely. Which brings us to the second last point. Reinvent yourself. How do I start this segment? Exploration is growth. And growth is not outward facing, but it's inward, as I'm sure you have read in a ton of books, so in a ton of TV shows, right? Whenever you find something about yourself you want to change, you need to look for a way to reinvent it. A reinvention is what allows you endless opportunities to continue exploring new parts of yourself. In this fast-changing world, everyone needs to live in a perfect state of transition. We need to continuously adapt ourselves to unlock the opportunities and meet the challenges of our new technology-driven world. Unfortunately, quote unquote. Take automation and the future of work, for example. This automation trend is set to continue in the near future. Nobody will be working in consumer electronic factories anymore. Everything will be automated. But it also seems clear that new digital technologies will not spare knowledge workers either. Sensors, big data, artificial intelligence solutions are already disrupting and replacing professionals in, medicine, in finance, in marketing, in HR, and even the law. The best shot is reinventing yourself and experimenting with various techs in readiness for any eventuality. Personally, the way our world is evolving, I would put my money on cybersecurity. With millions and millions of IoT devices continuously being deployed, I believe the need of a strong data encryption, authentication and authorization, permission management, these things would be really paramount in the future. Just look at what's happening in cars. Your car will be connected to your bank account to pay for gas automatically. Proper security policies need to be put in place, You can probably also ditch your passport and ID in the future in favor of retina scan or a thumbprint. And the world would want to make sure that this data is properly encrypted at rest and in transit. That's also properly accessed and identified. And finally, the sixth chapter, the final one for this video, is going to be a question. And the question is this the end? And I'm gonna try to answer this question. So working at AWS is great, right? Is it really the end? Is it really the end of trying? Is it something, when you join a big company, a fan company, are you set for life? No, I don't think so. Do you know what makes you a great freelancer, a great graphic designer, creative entrepreneur, or any kind of any other kind of professional? Really, it's not your current level of skills. Sure, your qualifications are important during the hiring process, but it's your potential for progress. But your potential for progress is determined by your will and your commitment to learning new things. When you learn new skills, you gain a ton of advantages, not only from a professional, but from a personal aspect as well. I've enjoyed being a solutions architect at AWS. I loved my time there, but I still had tons of doors ahead of me that I wanted to open. Learning is a continuous process. The time when people settled for a job and waited for retirement is long gone. Today, if you don't keep learning, you stop being competitive and you can easily get replaced. I actually been wanting to make this video since August. It's been like 6 months now, but I always pushed it back because I feared that people would find me arrogant, or I know that a lot of you would disagree with what I'm saying. That's fine. I just don't want to come across as someone who's, arrogant, or someone I look at me like. I'm just sharing my experience as I've been doing throughout these videos. So please let me know, what is your personal take on technology and self-growth? What is your curse? What is that thing that you're really good at that everyone else around you struggles just to keep up? What is that thing that in the right parameters, it would give you a big advantage? That's it for me for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more of our exciting content. Please give us a like, also share the video, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for timely updates of our last uploads. I value your feedback, so feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. See you in the next one. Peace out.